Hello, scholars and alumni, and welcome to our first webinar in this year's Summer Career Series. My name is Nicole, Senior Program Manager at TheDream.Us. Before we begin, I do have a few housekeeping items to run through. Next slide. To begin, please introduce yourself in the chat. We know that our scholars love connecting, meeting, and networking with other scholars across the country. So introducing yourself in the chat and including your LinkedIn URL if you have one is a simple way to connect with others. I also want to remind everyone to please mute your microphone during the duration of the presentation, unless you are asked to unmute. There will be a Q&A at the end of the session. So should you have any questions related to today's topic, please type them in the Q&A feature, not the chat. If you can't see the Q&A, you may have to click on the three little dots. And lastly, copies of this slide deck and today's recording will be posted on our YouTube channel within a week's time. Next slide. As a reminder, here's a look at the rest of our schedule. We're very excited for you to be joining us, and hopefully you'll be joining for other sessions as well. This week, we have 2 more sessions happening tomorrow and Thursday. Please note that tomorrow's session, featuring a great panel of the Dream.Us alumni entrepreneurs, will start at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. So please adjust to your own time zone, and do know that all sessions have the same Zoom link. Also, please know that all information shared during this series is for educational purposes only and should not be considered legal, business, or tax advice. Now, I will go ahead and turn it over to today's guest speaker, Sarah Kim. Welcome, Sarah, and please take it from here.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon or good evening. I'm really excited to kick off this summer series with you all. We're going to be talking about UndocuCareers and what it means to navigate different career pathways as an undocumented individual. Before I kick it off, I do want to hear from you all. Please share in the chat, what did you do to generate income when you were younger? I placed this lemonade stand sticker in the slide because I remembered that when I was in elementary school, I actually hosted my own lemonade stand with a few neighborhood friends. So I'm wondering what you all did as well. Take some time to think about what you might have done, like for your family, even if it wasn't to earn money, if you made some little cash on the side while you were doing this, I'm really curious to hear your answers. So I'll give a quick minute for folks to answer. I see walking the dog sitting, cleaning the house, selling fruit, selling chocolates. So as you're typing or thinking, I really encourage you to also look at the answers of your peers. I'm so surprised and at the same time not that you all had to generate income or you had a chance to generate income when you were young. Awesome. Thank you all for sharing. I'm definitely gonna go back and look at what you all did. And hold this thought as I'm gonna bring it back into our conversation today. As Nicole said in the beginning, just a quick disclaimer, this is not a presentation where I'm going to provide any business or legal advice. All information is for educational purposes only. My name is Sarah, and I use she, her pronouns. I'm the founder and CEO of EduLight Inc. And I provide career coaching sessions or career education to college students and even folks looking into a career into entrepreneurship. I'll share a little bit about my college and career journey. But I started my college journey at my local community college at Irvine Valley College. I studied psychology there, and that's where I actually learned that I love working with college students. I got pretty involved at my local community college. I heard folks say, you're not gonna have a good time at community college, but my experience was so different. I loved it, and I really um, loved being part of a community college. And once I transferred, I transferred to UCLA and studied sociology. And during that time, I got involved with the undocumented student program. And at that program, I learned about the undocumented community and how empowering. And for me personally, I was so empowered to find such a community where students are supporting each other and educators are also supporting the students. And so that actually helped me plan how I wanted to, navigate my career journey next. So I pursued my master's at Boston College. I was very fortunate to get a full ride. I really had to advocate for it, but I got a full ride at Boston College to study for my master's in higher ed. And during my time there, I got involved at the Northeastern University's Career Center, and I gained my skills in being a career advisor and supporting first generation and international students. But I was always wanting to go back to serve my undocumented community, also because I had that personal experience. And so, right when I found and learned about First Gen Empower, this nonprofit based in California, I had no second thought, and I wanted to join that org to go back and serve my undocumented community. And so it's been almost over 2 years since I was part of First Gen Empower. And last year, with their support, and once I've realized I wanted to continue to accept these opportunities to help my community, I decided to open my own business. And so Edulite Inc. is here because of the undocumented community that really supported me. And there are a few folks here that are sharing the space that really made it possible. And so I don't think I would have been able to do it on my own. And I'm sure you all have some questions around, opening up your own business, what it means to be an independent contractor. And so I really encourage you all to ask your questions throughout this summer series with your alumni and with the speakers here today. And I'm really excited to share this space with you all because I was also at the same space. So I'll be answering questions at the way end, so please keep them for the sake of time. We'll have Q&A session at the end. But ultimately, my entrepreneurship journey really allowed me to design my own career and my life while generating financial independence and generating income. So I was able to work with all these higher ed institutions and orgs, and I never really imagined that I would be able to do this at such a young age or so in the beginning of my professional journey. But I decided, I'm not waiting for any policies to change or for me to be able to get DACA. So I took up my own entrepreneurship journey with my community. And so that's why I'm here with you all today. So in the chat, I want to see or hear from you all. Can you answer this question? A self-employed person is A, independent contractor, B, freelancer, C, business owner, D, employee, or E, A, B, and C. And so this is a safe learning space. So feel free to put your answers in the chat. I see folks are putting E. Gonna wait for a few more folks. All right, E, because it says E, and E is correct. So if you chose E, you're saying a self-employed person is an independent contractor, also can be a freelancer and a business owner, and that is correct. But when you're self-employed, you're not an employee. We'll talk about the differences in this session today. So undocumented individuals can pursue entrepreneurship career pathways regardless of their citizenship status. And so we'll talk about the differences of pursuing independent contracting, which is part of freelancing, but freelancing is very more short term. And you can also decide to start a business. But I'll kind of discuss and share with you all, what makes sense if you want to open up a business. So we'll talk about your major and see if this makes sense for you. But I wanted to make sure that you all know that these are the possible career pathways you can decide to pursue. When I was in college, I really didn't think that I would be able to, and I didn't know what that meant. And so in this session today, I hope that we can clear the confusion and that we can empower you to make the decisions so that you can grab opportunities while you're here with us. So I wanted to highlight 3 immigrant stories. We have Tobere, we have Louis and Ian, who also started their own business. And so I have linked these videos in our slides. So I'll be sharing the slides and you can also check out other immigrants who have started their own business. So this is the quick overview of today. Like I shared, we're going to be talking about what it means to be employed versus self-employed
Yo
and
me había comprado uno.
to be an independent
No ve
contractor.
que estoy en una
Um,
reunión y
if we can silence, yes, and mute ourselves throughout the session, that would be great. But the key session here is that I'm really looking forward to helping you all connect the dots to what it means to become an independent contractor with your major or with the career field that you're interested in. And lastly, we'll talk about what to think about when you're starting a business, and we'll end it with resources and some Q&A sessions. So save your questions at the end. So when you're an employee, you are required to have a social security number and a work permit. As an employee, you usually get some benefits like health insurance, paid time off, a sick leave, or retirement savings. And you don't really have to worry about how much you're gonna get next month because there's consistent salary and wages as an employee. And your taxes are automatically deducted from an employee's paycheck by the employer. But when you're self-employed, work authorization is not required, but you do need to have a social security number or a individual taxpayer identification number, also known as an ITIN number. Or if you're a business, you'll have an employer identification number, also called an EIN. But to be self-employed, this is actually open to all regardless of status, which is why we're having this session today. Um, but as a self-employed individual, you might be, having some income differences based on your business's performance, whether, your clients are paying you after you deliver your service. And there may be seasonal factors when you're busy and when you're not busy. And so there's some inconsistency, and sometimes you're not sure what your next month's paycheck will look like as someone who is self-employed. Also, you're not always provided with health insurance benefits and paid time off, but I have friends who are independent contractors who have luckily advocated for health insurance stipends. And so it doesn't mean that, you 100% won't be able to get health insurance benefits. There are ways that you could find opportunities that provide stipends, but it's just not the assumed case scenario for someone who is self-employed. And you are responsible for paying your own taxes. Now, it's important that we're discussing the difference because I wanted to highlight this federal law from IRCA of 1986. It prohibits employers from hiring and employing an individual for employment in the US, knowing that the individual is not authorized with respect to such employment. So employers do not need to check the work authorization or even ask about your immigration status if you're an independent contractor. But it's up to you if you want to disclose your status, but we just don't recommend it. Also, I want to note that the federal government, the IRS, and each state have different guidelines. So it's important for you to do some research about what it looks for you to be an independent contractor or a business owner in your state. A quick story here. I've found a fellowship, or I would say this internship for a immigrant organization, and I disclosed my status because it was important for me to share why I wanted to do this work. But unfortunately, because I disclosed my status, they weren't able to, give me that offer, the job opportunity, even though they offered it to me, because they learned about my status, and they're not allowed to hire me knowing that I'm undocumented. And so from that case, I hope that you all also are aware that employers can't hire you knowing that you are not authorized for employment. And so that's why we really wanted to make sure you all know the difference of being employed versus self-employed. Now, self-employed individuals pay taxes using their TIN, so their individual taxpayer identification number. I have included some resources that the Dream.Us has already gathered, and so you can click on this link with my slides and access them. But with an ITIN, it does not authorize you to work in the US, nor does it change your immigration tax status, but you can use it to pay taxes. Now, you might have seen this W-9 form, but the W-9 form is a request for taxpayer identification number and certification. I also receive it as a business owner from colleges and universities that I partner with. And when you fill this out, you can see in part 1 under here is the taxpayer identification number section. It says social security number, but in the guidelines, it says that if you are a resident alien and if you don't have a social security number and are not eligible to get it, you can actually put in your TIN number. So you could, which is your IRS ITIN number instead. So we just wanted to highlight that for you. For me as a business, I put in my EIN number in that same box underneath. So if you have questions around ITINs and how to fill out the W-9, please check out the dream.us.com slash ITIN for more resources. So now let's talk about independent contracting. And this is where I actually started my own career journey as an undocumented student advisor at First Gen Empower. As an independent contractor, you're self-employed and you're contracted to perform work or provide services to another business or an individual, again, as a non-employee. So when you're an independent contractor, you enter a contract work that is clearly defined, duties and pay and type of work, amount of work, and it's more detailed in the contract. But you can be contracted for some very specialized skills or expertise and service. And so for me, it was for undocumented student advising. And so I really used my higher ed background to perform my job, my work as an independent contractor for First Gen Empower. And now some services as an independent contractor may require professional licensure. And so this is a list of some professional licenses that you may be eligible to, receive if your state allows you to. But I really encourage you to take a look at this as you explore your career options and see if getting a professional license is an extra step that you might have to pursue and think about. Now I want to hear back from you all. What type of jobs come into mind when you hear the word freelancer? I'll give a quick minute for you all to answer in the chat. Journalist, writer, website creator, plumber. Y'all are fast. Yes, I definitely had some of those freelancing jobs in mind, and you all are all correct. I wanted to highlight Upwork and Fiverr. Let me know if you've heard of this website platform in the chat, but these are freelance platforms that you can explore independent contracting options or freelancing opportunities to provide services. I didn't know before, but they are really good at highlighting some really popular services that folks provide as freelancers. So some of you, I think, wrote writing. So there's a section under content writing, and these are all the areas that someone can provide a service for as a freelancer. And underneath, you can see, in programming and tech, graphic and design, digital marketing, these are all the areas that you can also explore as a freelancer. So I want you all to think, that you're not limited when you become an independent contractor or a freelancer. You have actually a lot of options and services that you can think of to provide. And so I really want you all to kind of start exploring this. If you're a freshman in college, if you're a senior in college, if you're an alumni, it's never too late to explore what it might look like for you to provide services as an independent contractor or freelancer. So I get this question a lot from students, but it's what can I do for independent contracting with my major? And so I wanted to connect the dots in the next few slides with you all. So if you're a STEM major, majoring in a career field in STEM, some most popular services in programming and tech is Python developers or HTML and CSS developers. And with these, with this information provided through Fiverr or Upskill, I want you to explore, different certification programs that you could take so that you can provide a portfolio, or you can show that you have skills in this area. So if you're in college, I really highly encourage you to take smaller projects to initially build your experience and build your resume for you to provide these services, because you are competing with other individuals who are providing the same service. So for you to stand out, you will have to highlight some of these certifications or projects on your portfolio. Another great idea is to collaborate with your peers. So just ask a classmate if they're down to work on a freelance project with you and to start offering your services to local businesses or nonprofits. And I highlight nonprofits because they tend to be very open to hiring or working with independent contractors and freelancers. If you're in the arts and humanities, some, most popular services include graphic design or services in writing and translation. I remembered, in our first question that I gave out, what did you do to generate income when you were younger? I did hear, that some of you translated for your parents, or, you have helped your siblings with things. And I've just also remember someone writing website design as a freelancing job. So these are services that you can provide and earn income as an independent contractor. And so if you're bilingual, you're already at a really good start. And so I really encourage you all to explore and tap into your skills that you already have and connect with folks and ask, do you need this kind of service? I would love to volunteer just so that I could build my experience on this. That will help you build your brand and also build your experience and your skills. And that's actually what I did as a grad student as well. I volunteered my time serving in the career services and the career center just so that I can build my skills. And no, I didn't know that I'll open up my business so early on, but because of the circumstances and because I wanted to start accepting these opportunities, I just went in for it. But if I didn't say yes to the opportunities to grow my skills and my experience, I wouldn't have been ready to open my business. And so I really encourage you to start saying yes to opportunities to maybe expand your skills in these different services. Lastly, if your education or if your major is in education, you can explore, the K through 12 institutions and see what kind of services you can provide to them and their students. So you could tap into consulting or counseling under career advising, higher education consulting, or admissions consulting. If you're a student, you have, the point of view and you see the need that higher education institutions need to fill. And so that's what a higher ed consulting consists of. And so I also use my own experience as I was a student at UCLA trying to advocate for my peers who are undocumented into what I do in career advising. And so I really encourage you to think about, yeah, what do I see a need in the education field or in the tech field? And how can I provide my services for certain institutions or nonprofits? You can also think about opening up a childcare center. If you like instructional designing, like developing a course. I know with the pandemic, we all went into online learning. And if you realize you can see what might make things better, this is a service that you could totally provide to a higher ed institution who don't have capacity to update or do things better. And so for me, I really like to think of filling in the gaps when I'm thinking about creating a business or a service. And that's actually how at Edulite Inc., I started creating new services and programming. What is missing from the work in higher ed that I could fill in to provide my services for? Lastly, maybe you could specialize in other educational services like speech therapy. So there are so many options for you depending on your major. And it really just starts with you exploring what other services people are already providing, but also thinking, what's the gap that you need to fill here? Some examples of contracting opportunities you can find at UndocuProfessionals.net. They have a job board that is open for folks who are non-DACA as well. So I actually have seen some new contracting roles being posted. But another example of a contracting opportunity is from America on Tech. Now they've hired roles for folks who are web development instructors, UX design instructors. So I want you to get a sense of, what kind of roles are institutions or companies like America on Tech looking for? And how can you prepare yourself to be eligible or to be a really good candidate for these roles? And so for me, I still look at some contracting roles and I see what kind of qualifications and skills they're looking for. And so I really want to encourage you to start researching and print out or type out the kind of skills and qualifications that you need to also meet. And maybe you might want to take a certification course so that you can fill in that skill or that qualification. And so that's how you can start preparing yourself for the journey of being an independent contractor. So when you're starting a business, it looks very different from being an independent contractor. Remember how I shared how I started as an independent contractor? But once I opened up my business, I was able to do a lot more things with the business that I was growing and branding. And so I'll share a little bit more about that. But when you're an independent contractor, scalability is limited. What that means is that you're just one individual delivering services for a specialized field or expertise within a specific industry. But when you're an incorporated business, an LLC or a C Corp, whatever business structure you choose to do, you are potentially able to provide a broader scope of work. And so with that, you can also expand operations and hire folks to work with you or work under you. And you could also enter new markets. And this is what I also have a vision for with Edulite Inc. I eventually want to build a team so that I could fill in the gaps in higher ed with others, because I think with just me as an individual, I can only do so little, right? So as a business, you can think long term and also a broader scope of work, which is really fun. You're also going to be able to use a business name for your branding identity and to also protect your own personal name. So for me, when I work as Edulite Inc., I don't really have to say on my contract that I'm Sarah. And so there's like a layer of protection when you have an incorporated business, especially for those who are undocumented. And so if that is a fear that you have while being an independent contractor, one thing that you might want to think about is, if you open up your business, you could have another layer of protection and just use your business name as you provide services. Also, it's been really fun and exciting to build a company and to build a branding of the things that I have done in the past and that I'm continuing to do. And as a business, I was able to apply for more grant opportunities than I was when I was an independent contractor. And so there are, nonprofits and orgs that are really putting out small business funds for individuals. So this is where I'm trying to tap also my resources into. And so when you're a business, you can also look for more resources. I do want to note that not everyone will think about incorporating a business, and that's totally okay. Some independent contracting roles may not just fit well with a business structure. So I have a friend who works in community organizing, but they just don't see that they should open up a business anytime soon, just because it doesn't look very realistic to what they're doing right now. And the orgs that they work with don't typically hire businesses to do the roles that they're looking for them to fill. So it just takes research and network for you to see if it would make sense for your contracting role to involve into a business. So there are some cons of being self-employed. There's an increased amount of responsibility, right? You have to make sure that you get clients so that you earn income, and this looks different by month to month. And that's what I've been realizing as well as a higher ed career consultant. I sometimes get clients for the month of August, but sometimes September is empty. So it really depends on you for you to earn the income. There is a lack of benefits most of the time: health insurance, retirement plans, paid vacation, or sick leave. But this is things that you can also invest in yourself as someone who is self-employed. Admit there are an administrative burden. I'm actually learning more about what it means to be bookkeeping and keeping tabs of how much I'm making, and invoicing, sending invoices to potential employers, and making sure I get paid on time, or filling out for taxes. I had a lot of questions about what it means to fill out taxes as a business owner. And for me, I was just fortunate enough to have support from a CPA, a tax professional. But yeah, I don't think I can do my own business without that kind of support. So there is that kind of burden and that fear that I had when I was working as a business owner. There's always market competition and a work-life balance. In the very beginning, I felt like I needed to work all day and all night. A piece of it was because I was so excited to to do the work and to earn income. But it can be very isolating and lonely for you to run your own business, especially if you're starting alone. And there's always a need for self-motivation and discipline if you're self-employed, because no one else is going to do the work for you. But there are a lot of pros. With my last point for the cons of self-employment, I want to add that I was able to find a lot of communities in higher ed and also from the undocumented community to really help me just find my foundation again. So just going back to why I started my business and what my passion is really helps me motivate myself and to be disciplined. And so there are ways for you to not make this a con. And so I am really excited to highlight the pros of being self-employed. There are flexibility and independence. So you could set your own work hours. There are days when I am out during the day, just exploring a city. So I moved to New Jersey because I was able to move with my career as a business owner, and I set my own hours and my own agenda. You could choose your preferred location of work. You could work remotely. You could choose to work hybrid or in person. Also depends if you are contracted with an institution or, employer and with a business and they want you in person, you don't have that flexibility, but it's really up to you if you accept that job. There's a huge creative freedom. I love creating Instagram posts. Feel free to follow me on Edgelight Inc. and see what I'm doing with my business. But there are creative freedoms, and no one is, gonna say, oh, you can't post that, or you can't create that kind of programming or that service. And so there's a lot of freedom in what you can create. There is a potential for higher income. I didn't know that I would be able to accept opportunities where I'm speaking and educating folks and getting paid at the same time, because I've just done it for so long for free for me to serve others. But I really believe that, all work should be paid. And so there are potential for higher income when you're self-employed. It just might take more time for you to get there, but sometimes you might be able to accept opportunities that allows you to have higher income right away as well. There are tax benefits. You may be eligible for various tax deductions. There are diverse opportunities you can take, which is why I wanted to pursue my own business. I didn't want to be stuck to a higher ed institution. Just with a 9 to 5, I wanted to partner with so many other people and work with others. And you could build your own personal brand, which was something that I'm having fun with. And there is just so much job satisfaction and personal fulfillment as you're creating your own job. And that's how I feel and I see entrepreneurship as. You can design your own job and pursue what's important to you and the skills that you want to also use in your business. And so there are a lot of pros than cons personally for me as an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship really did give me the opportunity to redesign my career and my life. Before it, I was just waiting on DACA to reopen again, but unfortunately, it hasn't happened. And I wasn't going to wait for any policies to let me live my life. So I took up entrepreneurship. I let my whole community know, and I was, really empowered by the community and supported every day. And so I moved from California to New Jersey, and here are some posts that I have started to create. It's really amazing how, we're told you can't do this, you can't do that, you're too young, you don't have that much skills, but you can do so much if you can overcome the fear and your self-doubt in yourself. So I really want to encourage you all to attend the other sessions and ask questions to the other presenters on how they did it and how they navigated their entrepreneurship journey. It's definitely not easy, but it is very worthwhile and a really good investment, especially for yourself if you feel like you don't have any other options. So I'll just end it with some resources. I have linked these that you can look into based on your major and your career interest. And you could also take a look at my own website where I gathered some career and identity resources. It's on edulightinc.org. And feel free to follow me on Instagram and to follow me on my own career journey. But this is the QR code and link to all the slides. Thank you all so much for listening.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Sarah, for your knowledge and presentation on UndocuCareers. It looks like I just saw if you could drop the link to your website in the chat, Sarah, that'd be great. And I'll give you a little breather before we dive into questions. First of all, thank you everyone too for attending and participating. There's some wonderful questions that hopefully we'll be able to get through a good chunk of them. A lot of these questions can also be answered, as Sarah mentioned, by attending our future sessions this week. We have 2 more, tomorrow and Thursday, and next week we have 3, one each day, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And I'll put the link to our schedule in the chat later on. I will also drop the link to, we have a wonderful entrepreneurship page on our website that you can also learn a lot about ITINs, EINs, resources on independent contracting and how to start a business. So we will now move into the Q&A portion. Sarah, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, great. So the first question I see is around Upwork and Fiverr. A couple questions, actually. Do you need a social security number or an ITIN to register as a freelancer on Upwork and Fiverr?
Thank you for that question. I personally haven't signed up and checked, but I will think that they might ask you for an ITIN number, and you might not need to provide social security number.
And I can give some further context to that. For both Upwork and Fiverr, yes, you can register for an account on both platforms so long as you have a TIN number, which is a social security number or an ITIN or even an EIN. To sign up for platforms, both of these platforms, you'll probably be asked to fill out Form W-9, which is a tax form. Sarah briefly mentioned it. If you look at the form, it's 1 page. The rest of the pages is instructions. On the first page, it has a field that says social security number or an EIN. If you read the instructions, if you have an ITIN, you can put your ITIN in the social security number field. And I'll link that form in the chat. So if anyone wants to read the instructions, they're welcome to do so. All right, next question. How would you go about putting these projects on a resume?
Oh, that's a great question. I actually started putting the projects that I've done on a website. And so I didn't pay for like a premium website. I didn't invest any money for over a year, even after I opened up my own business. But there are different ways. So a website is one way to highlight your portfolio, just so that it's more accessible virtually. And your resume, you can also highlight it on your resume. If you have questions on that, you could check out some templates that I've put. You can also highlight it on your LinkedIn that you've worked on some projects. I know some employers are very active on there. And so even, folks who are following you might see that you're working on a project and be like, oh, they've done this kind of work, they have this kind of skill. Maybe I might want to partner with them or introduce them to a job opportunity that might fit and align with what they have done with their project. And so I want you all to kind of explore the different ways to highlight the projects that you worked on, but don't stick with one. Put your eggs in different baskets, explore different ways that you could showcase your projects.
Wonderful. Next question. As a health major, Are there any opportunities for independent contracting or freelancing?
There are a lot. I think if you're not in, pre-health yet, if you aren't in the health um industry yet and you're looking to, generate income, I actually really recommend you to join PhD Dreamers conference coming up. If you're a current scholar of TheDream.Us, you can actually register with TheDream.Us by Friday, so that you can attend. But they're going to be talking more about that specific industry. So I'm not going to take up the space and time here to talk about it, but highly encourage you all to attend. If you're a student, it's just $25. But if you're, again, a scholar at TheDream.Us, you're going to be able to get that waived and attend.
I see my colleague Sadhana may like to add to that. Sadhana also put in the website to pre-health dreamers. Sadhana, anything left to add? No?
Nope,
All right.
all good.
All right. Next question. I see a lot of questions around how can I start thinking about opportunities or finding opportunities in independent contracting and freelancing work that relate to my major? What advice do you give to our attendees asking those questions?
Yeah, like I shared, if you've done some research at Fever, that's great. But if you're trying to connect the dots with your major, I really encourage you to check out some professional associations within your industry. So professional associations are orgs outside of your campus with professionals who are in a specific industry. So for example, if you're in higher ed and you work with student affairs, administrators or educators, there's a professional association called NASPA. And if you join these professional associations as a student, you actually get a discount normally, and you can find communities and professionals in the field of your interest or in that field currently. And so when you join professional associations, it opens you up to networking, it opens up potential opportunities to collaborate on projects, writing research. There's also scholarships around and conferences. And so if you're trying to connect the dots to your major and your career interests, your career field interests, I highly encourage you to start looking up professional associations to join, because you'll just be able to connect with more professionals. And job opportunities, yes, some of them are posted on websites, but most of them are through warm connections, which are folks who already know you and know about you. And so I really think networking is a powerful tool and powerful strategy in exploring contracting opportunities as well. So start looking into professional associations that are near you, because they're also location based. And yeah, I highly encourage you to look into that.
Thanks, Sarah. Excuse me, I'm a little under the weather. Great advice. I'll also add Chamber of Commerce's. There's a ton of Chamber of Commerce's that typically make up local small businesses who either have their own business, they're doing independent contracting and freelancing. So if you type in your city into Google, and Chamber of Commerce, you'll probably get a long list. There's Women's Chamber of Commerce, Hispanic and Latinx Chamber of Commerce's, Urban Chamber of Commerce's. They typically can provide free or low cost services to aspiring entrepreneurs as well. Next question. Do you still need an EIN as an independent contractor? And what other paperwork besides an ITIN or a social security number would we need?
Is that question to be an independent contractor? Um,
Yes. So if someone wants to be an independent contractor, would they need to apply for an EIN or could they use their ITIN or social?
That's a great question. You don't need an EIN. A EIN is an employer identification number, which businesses like Edulite Inc. uses to fill out the W-9 and contract with folks. But if you're an independent contractor or freelancer, you just need your ITIN. But you can use your ITIN to apply for a EIN number if you want to become a business. I know like I'm throwing out these words and lingos, and believe me, I didn't know what these meant earlier on. So Sadhana, thank you so much for putting this in. But yeah, you don't need to have an EIN to be an independent contractor.
Thanks, Sarah. And I wrote down something you said earlier about an EIN. It can add a layer of protection. So where you don't have to use your personal name, you can use your business name instead. If you want to learn more about EINs and ITINs, I encourage you to check out some future sessions this week, especially the one on how to start a business on Thursday, as well as our immigrant entrepreneur panel tomorrow. Next question. How long did it take you to truly settle down? As in, how long did it take you to truly feel like you had a firm business in your hands?
Mm. Wow, a firm business. I think that's a really good question. I think I won't feel like that for a while. As an entrepreneur, I don't want to be so comfortable, and I think that's okay. Um, because my mission with Edulite Inc. is to serve the underserved students, and for my business, for me to be able to really serve that community, I can't just give out or provide the same services or same programming. And so right now, I still feel like after a year in, I feel like I'm open to opportunities to provide different services, different programming. But I feel more confident being a business owner. And I know that like although this was not planned, I'm just so grateful that my circumstance led me here. And so really grateful that I can function as a business and provide support to the communities that I care about, and at the same time generate income so that I can be doing this work full time, and as long as I want to. So I hope that answers the question. I'm always a little scared at the same time, but I'm okay with that because I have community also supporting me. And so, yeah, I don't think I would feel the same way if I didn't have community. So if you're thinking about opening up your own business, make sure that you can have community or a small group of people you can also lean on for support. And yeah, I think that's the key for me.
All right, thank you, Sarah. And building community is so valuable and important. I encourage everyone that are attending our sessions to try to connect with all of our guest speakers and panelists via LinkedIn, to stay connected with them, connect with other scholars and alumni throughout the country. Networking and connection is a huge support. Next question. Do you have any tips on getting internships as an undocumented student? I'll first ask that question.
Yeah. For internships on campus, I wish I connected with more professors, because through professors, I would have been able to have conversations about working on research, on things that I care about, on the communities that I care about. Other internships that I found myself in at undergrad, I just went to the orgs. So there was a UCLA housing center and there was a social media team. And I just literally walked up to them and said, I love working on social media work. Can I learn with you all? And so for several months, I wasn't part of the team officially, but because I was so open to learning from them, they eventually led me on to their team. And so it might just take you to initiate some conversations and maybe start out as someone who is, open to learning, because in internships, your role is to learn and pick up some new skills. And so with the mindset of learning like if you approach them and say, I want to learn and work with you all, you might be able to find an internship, with an on-campus group. But I also highly encourage you to look into fellowships. Fellowships are actually more inclusive to undocumented individuals who don't have DACA. And so, for example, the UCLA Dream Summer, which is happening right now, you don't have to be a UCLA student to be eligible. And so fellowships are actually the key word to use to look for opportunities like internships. So look for them on campus, but also look for them off campus. And there are some fellowships that also connect to your major. And so that's how I would strategically look for more opportunities.
Thanks, Sarah. And I also put in the chat a list to some of those inclusive internships and fellowships. Next question. I am confused as to what major would help the best. I am an incoming sophomore.
All right. So even for my major, it was not planned that I was going to be a sociology major. I would start with, you know, what are you just interested in learning? And you could do more research and see what have alumni have done with my major. What kind of work are they providing now? And don't be surprised if they are not using their major for their career. So I also want to just demystify and just share with you all that a lot of folks don't use their major for their career, and that's okay. But you might be able to also use your major. But what you do on campus during those years also are just equally important. So I would say look for opportunities for you to get involved, volunteering, fellowships, and within your major, talk to those alumni on LinkedIn and say, I'm thinking about pursuing this major. What do you have any advice for me? And alumni are really open to connecting because they've been in your shoes. So if not your alumni on campus, even alumni through TheDream.Us, that's the network that I would really tap into, because they might be also having to navigate a similar situation that you have been navigating. So ask folks around, but also think big picture. You don't have to just stick with a career that is related to your major.
Thanks, Sarah. These are wonderful questions. Unfortunately, we're not able to answer all of them. As we're wrapping up, I just put in the link to the rest of our summer career series schedule. Do know that this session has been recorded and will be posted on our YouTube channel in about a week's time, along with a link to the slide deck. So if you came in late, know that you can check out our YouTube channel soon for this recording. Also, we hope to see the rest of you at our future events. The next one is tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern time. Adjust for your own time zone. And we hope to see everyone there. Sarah, thank you so much for your expertise and presenting on this topic today. We greatly appreciate it. And thank you for all of our attendees that joined us today. All right, take care.
Thank
Bye.
you all. Bye.